say something about what happened to George Floyd. I'm so glad it was caught on tape, because on that tape you see a man pleading for his life, a handcuffed man pleading for his life, an apathetic man on top of him, murdering him until his lifeless body was laid on a gurney. The second part of this is the officers that stood by and did nothing. We don't stand for a thin blue line in protecting that. We stand for justice, for serving, for protecting, for doing what's right. That is courage. Not being complicit and letting things like this happen. We have to have the strength to stand up and say this is wrong. So I challenge officers, don't look the other way. You stand for what's right, no matter what.
You're a police officer and you see that and your thinking is, well, but what happened beforehand, or we haven't seen all the videos, and you need to recognize right now that that doesn't matter. What happened beforehand has nothing to do with what happened at the moment. Those officers are going to be judged on what happened at the moment. He was lying on the ground, not resisting, and he lost his life. I want you to look at that video and put yourself in that position and think about how you would handle that, whether it's you with the knee on the back of the neck, or it's you standing around watching this happen. Somebody has to take a leadership role, and it has nothing to do with rank. Somebody has to stop that before it gets to that point. Those officers lost their jobs. Somebody's going to be arrested. Lives and families torn apart, and we can't go back in time. Learn from it right now and make sure you don't let something like that happen to you. You're a police.
I've been a cop for 23 years, and watching the video of Mr. Floyd being pinned to the ground was one of the worst things I've seen. His fellow officers stood there. They did nothing. Y'all took an oath, man, the same oath that 800,000 of us have taken to serve and protect our communities. Officers like this tarnish the badge. They tarnish the oath. We have to go out here and work harder to repair those relationships with our communities across the entire U.S. because it doesn't just affect one community, it affects all of them. I hope y'all are charged accordingly. To the Floyd family, I am sorry for your loss. And to my Blue family, we can't let this happen anymore.
So every time a person of color is murdered by a cop, you get the Blue Lives Matter, the All Lives Matter, and just the flat-out redneck racists coming out saying, well, they should have complied with the officer. They should have listened to the officer. They shouldn't have resisted. But over the last couple of weeks, I've seen a hell of a lot of white people resisting cops and not following the law. I've seen heavily armed white men storm Capitol buildings, threatening elected officials. I've seen heavily armed white men in the face of cops screaming at them. I've seen white people obstructing cops from serving citations to businesses that aren't following the stay-at-home orders. I've seen white people calling cops motherfuckers, bastards, sons of bitches, cocksuckers, all kinds of colorful names in the name of freedom. What happens to these white people? Not a goddamn thing. They might get arrested and put in the back of a car for 15 minutes. That is white privilege. And if you don't think it exists, you're a fucking idiot.
I hope my law enforcement family doesn't take this the wrong way. My take on this is very simple. The man was murdered. Nowhere in mechanics of arrest are we ever taught to put our knees onto somebody's neck/throat area, especially for that long. And the 3 officers standing around watching that happen, y'all are at fault too. Y'all could have told the man, get off him, he can't breathe. I mean, you're hearing him say it, but then you allow it to just continue. Whatever happens to those officers happens. it should have never gone that way. Ever. Rest in peace, George Floyd. For real.
So this message is going out to the Derek Chauvins. So this message is going out to the Derek Chauvins of the world, the ones who murder black men, who think that they can do whatever they want and get away with it. You murdered that man. Plain and simple. You wear a uniform to protect America and to protect its citizens, just like I do. And you abuse the power and authority that that uniform gave you to kill a man. You murdered him. He wasn't resisting arrest. He was fighting for the basic right that all humans have to take a breath. You deprived him of a human right. Something millions of us do every single day without even giving it a second thought. All you have to do is show a little bit of compassion. All you have to do is be a decent human being instead of abusing your authority and privilege just because you wear a badge.
It's rare for me to speak out against another officer. There are very few situations that I can't articulate in my mind why that officer did what he did. But George Floyd, that officer was wrong. There's no excuse for it. There is no excuse for having your knee in a man's neck for 7-8 minutes after he is handcuffed, and then 2 or 3 of those minutes while he is unconscious. I could not care less if George Floyd was black, white, Hispanic, Asian, male, female, young or old. That officer was wrong. And he stomped on everything that I have spent 12 years defending and standing for. And for that, I am pissed. I am pissed because that officer makes the good guys' job that much harder.